Welcome to Patty's Aquatics Live and welcome to Beyond the Dirt. We got a little special edition today. I decided to do something a little different. Hop back on this YouTube stream-wise with the vertical stream and give you guys all a fish room tour, a live interactive fish room tour. Good morning, Bratton. Glad to see you here. My idea was to kind of go around to every tank, show you every tank. If people got questions, you want to see something in particular, I'll show you that. Hey, Jesse, how's it going? And kind of just go from there with it. Have a little fun today, do something a little different. Morning, Ed. So that's kind of the plan today. Also, I want to remind people that next week, Sunday, you don't want to miss. I have Corey from Aquarium Co-op coming on to be my guest on my live stream, so that should be pretty exciting. That's going to be at a special time as well, so that'll be 1 p.m. Central Time, so mark your calendars for that. Morning Prodigal Aquarius, sorry if I hammered that name wrong. So yeah, should be a pretty cool show here. Morning, Jim's Fish and Jonathan NC. How's it going? So yeah, with that being said, like I said, I'm really looking forward to showing everybody what's going on here. Kind of go around. It's going to be a little bit of a finagle because with glares, with lights, usually when I make videos, I can turn lights off behind me so there isn't a bunch of glares. So I downloaded my app for my timers onto another phone. So I'll set up a phone or my camera on one of the tanks and I'll turn everything off and we'll see how it goes with that. So that being said, is there any certain tank or any certain area that maybe you guys want to see first? Do you want to see like the Oscars and Puffer first? Do you want me to start on the other side with like the Rainbow Shiners and like the smaller tanks and work my way over? Oscar? All right, Jesse, you got it. So we'll work over there first. Like again, I said, if you guys have questions, make sure to ask along the way. I will try to keep an eye on the chat. I obviously am not the greatest at that sometimes, so so bear with me. All right, let's flip this camera and let's get set up here a little bit. Like I said, bear with me. So how's everybody's Sunday going? Now, sorry guys. This is a process. All right, here we go. This should be a little better. All right, here we go. So what I did was the other day is I trimmed my plants in here for the first time in quite a while. And that was the thing with this tank. Just bear with me while I get some of these lights off here behind me. There we go. So I trimmed the plants in this tank for the first time in I don't know how long. And what was happening is since this tank was so cloudy for so long with that just the cloudy water from my setup from my tanks, that the plants, you can see there's algae on these plants a little bit. It's taking a little bit to adapt to it. They're almost starting over now because they haven't had such decent light on them in quite a while. So dealing with that, but then also my Ludwigia and that Pogostem stellatus octopus I had in there, it's growing so tall up to the top. I mean, you had stalks that were bare, obviously, at the bottom, and then everything was heavy at the surface. So I trimmed that all down, replanted a little bit more Ludwigia clippings within it, and so it's a little bit more open now, which I kind of like. He likes it too. But yeah, this tank has been doing pretty good so far. Like mentioned numerous times, this fish is basically, it's going to be the long-term haul here. We're going to have to find out and see really how it's going to progress as this guy or girl, or Sparkles is his name, as he gets bigger. Are you gonna, Jesse says, are you gonna have no filter when he gets bigger? My plan is to continue this route. I can say this, I don't test my water regularly. I did test it not too long ago just to, because I know we talk about it with this fish with no filter. I'm not reading any nitrates or ammonia or nitrites within my aquarium yet. So as long as it stays where I have no issues, I'm fine with it. I have seen really no excess amount of waste at the bottom either. I mean, obviously he's an Oscar, so he's got turds. So there's some in there here and there, but they kind of get brushed in with the plants and helps gets broken down, and that obviously will help feed the plants as well. So long term, no, Jesse, I don't plan on putting filters in here. Like I said, we're just gonna have to see how this guy goes as the time goes on. Morning, Sarah. Nice to see you here. Mike, nice to see you. I think I caught up with everybody. Yeah. So morning, Aquatic Moose. So yeah, this definitely is an interesting experiment, Jesse. I'm hoping it succeeds. My other long-term concern, obviously, is if this guy gets too big for the tank, which is also an entirely possible situation. Then I have to figure something out as well. So there's a bunch of variables with this guy in this tank that I have to see how it all plays out yet. But so far as it goes, like I've mentioned numerous times in my channel and live streams and all that stuff, the substrate, how I set this one up, if people aren't aware, is that the substrate it's a dirted substrate. And then what I did was I have the dirt layer, I have about 1 inch of sand cap, then I have egg crate on top of that with more sand on top of it. That way, he can't, if he decides to dig, he's never going to be able to reach the dirt layer. So that's the one way that I did set this up so that I don't have to worry about that. Now, the biggest concern, obviously, are the plants that he may decide to one day just want to start ripping them up and destroying them as he gets older. So that is obviously an entirely possible situation. Jesse, you thought about securing a 125, having it on hand if you need to move him. That is a possibility. I do have my 100-gallon summer tub, the pond that I used to have down here. It's out in my garage. So worst comes to worst, I have something I can put him in that will be a little bit bigger for him if I need to. So that's kind of my backup for right now. As you're going to see as we go on here, there's not a whole heck of a lot of room in my fish room much anymore, but we'll make do with what we can. So, but yeah, so like I said, with this guy, it's going to be the wait and see process. Every week is another new adventure to see how this goes. Anyway, let's see. Hey, Jorge, how's it going? Jody P, good morning. Nice to see you in here. All right. See, I'm trying to keep up with the chat today. I don't ever do that. It's so hard. I got to be better at it. So that's what this tank so far. Like I said, I've been very lucky. I do have an Amazon sword in the back that looks a little peaked, if you can see. That is from my summer tub. What happened with that one is I took up pieces of them and put them in here. So those, whenever I move in an Amazon sword, the existing leaves typically wind up dying off and then new ones shoot up, which is actually happening right now. Oh, I think I startled them with my camera. So that's what's going on. So those old leaves will fall off or I cut them off. There's all new growth within it. And you'll see that in the puffer tank as well when we get to it. So that's that one. Anyone else got any questions about this tank with the Oscar before I move on to something else? Just let me know. Oh. Sorry, I'm hydrating. All right. In the meantime, then, I guess, let's move up here to these racks. This is my little rack of some nano jars. This is a 5.5 gallon tank that it's green water, but I've got Medaka rice fish growing out in it. And then this is that resurrection jar tank that I put a video on, I think, last week. So we'll look at that one closer in a second. these right here, this is, first off, let me come around, it'll probably be easier. Sorry about the washer and dryer. This is a 1 gallon jar. Now, this one, I set up probably like at least 6-7 months ago, at least. These decorations in here used to be my daughter's that I used to have in a 10-gallon tank. And what happened was I wanted that tank back without the decorations, so I wound up setting this jar up. It is dirted, and I put a bunch of Dorsage in here with 2 guppies. There's actually a couple coolie loaches in here that I got from my son when he gave up his stuff, and I didn't know where to put them. So they're in here, and this has actually been going pretty good in this jar with no filter, no heat, no nothing, just under that light up on the top. So those have been pretty cool. Oh, hey, morning. Have you started a food web with Oscar tank yet? No, I have not. That's what I plan on doing with this aquarium tank, which you'll see in a little bit. Once that starts progressing, I will put some in there. I did make a video this morning on something else I'll be doing with leaf litter and things within your aquarium. So I may add some of that in there. Maybe I'll talk about that in a little bit though. Let's see. This, you will see this, I believe this Friday in a video. This is just a mason jar that I dirted and I have plants in it. Now, right now there are no fish or shrimp in here. There are tons of little baby snails that popped up that must have been on the plant. But this is a very cool little experiment, as basically showing that you can have a dirted aquarium or a dirted tank in really any size container you wish to put them in. That there really is no stopping. You could put it as small as you want or big as you want. And I found that to be kind of cool. This bowl is what I was talking about before. Now this is just dry leaves that I got from my backyard. Now I put them in a jar with some tap water, and then I had a little filter on a power head that I just wrung out into it, and it popped up with life. Now this is like 6-7 months old now, this jar, and it's just teeming with little life all within it. And that's just very cool too, to be able to see just the amount of life that can come just from having dead leaves from outside and you throw it in some water. That there are microscopic life everywhere, and that just shows you really in your tanks just how much life really is in it, that you don't have to necessarily, well, I shouldn't say you shouldn't have to add a food web, because you don't, but I prefer to. But there's different ways to do it. It doesn't necessarily have to be handfuls of organic matter from a local waterway. There's other ways to do it, and that's a video I'm shooting right now, which will be coming out in a couple weeks. Take a drink, Adam. You know, I don't know about that one, Jesse. You know, everyone's got a price, like the $1 million man said, but I don't know about that one. Now, this is an abomination. Let's talk about this one a little bit. This is a 1 gallon fish bowl that I set up about 18 months ago. Now, this one used to have a bunch of plants in it. It has a bunch of shrimp in it and a bunch of Salvinia, as you can see. What happened was that I didn't have it under light for quite a while. And what happened was that the plants all died off. The combination of not getting enough light, the Salvinia being so thick on top, there was no light coming underneath, and all the plants wound up dying off. But there are life everywhere. There's shrimp all within here. You can see them darting all within there. I'm going to rescape this thing probably within the next week or so. I plan on taking all that Salvinia out of there. I'm going to keep the substrate in there. I don't plan on touching that. But what I'm going to do is just kind of back up a little bit of that mulm that's thick at the bottom, put a bunch of new plants in there, or some type of plants. I'm not sure what I want to do with it yet. But then don't put any floating plants in there, and just let it under the light and let it really grow. Because I have never done a water change on this either. This is just top off is all I've ever done with it. So I'm kind of interested to see how that all goes. Morning, Jack. How's it going? Nice to see you. By the way, Jack will be from JT Fish Keeping will be a guest on my live stream in January. I wrote it down. I think it's the 12th. I have to double check on that one, but make sure you guys come out for that one as well. Anyone else join us while I've been babbling here? Soing to you 18. Good morning. Hope I didn't destroy that name for you, buddy. All right. Now this is a 5.5 gallon tank that I'm using to grow Medaka rice fish. I got these rice fish from Scott over Raisin Fishes. He sent them to me in the mail, which was a really cool experience. I was able to get the eggs. One of them was alive within the little vial he sent me in. And then I hatched them out in a little Tupperware container and started putting them in here. And it was really cool. Um, I had about 60 of them. I don't know how many are still in here, but there are quite a few. I would say at least 30. They're getting pretty big right now. But I'm not where I'm going to put these guys. I'm not 100% sure yet. I have an idea, which I'll show you guys in a little while, but nothing is for certain quite yet. What I love about this with these grow tanks for these things is the green water. The green water and having this high light, which causes, there's so much microscopic life within one of these things. So if you're going to grow out fish in like a bare bottom tank, I feel like it's almost a necessity to have some type of plant or algae growth or something within it for those things to feed on. And speaking of feeding on, this is that higher automatic fish feeder that I have. It is pretty cool. Hit the button once and I'll feed them if anything comes out. There we go. It's a cool little thing to have. I like to watch it at work because you can have an app with it and be able to see everything that's going on. And I'll feed my fish while I'm working. What I actually did is I put the camera up in the corner of my fish room. So now I can see my entire fish room instead of just the tank. So then I can zoom in on any tank from it, which is actually kind of cool too. So yeah, it's nice to be able to put it actually on just a tank, but you know. And then let's move over to this thing. Now, this is that Resurrection Jar Aquarium. Now, this thing just fascinates the crap out of me. I'm not going to lie. There is so much stuff moving around and swimming and everything in here. It's just crazy. Um, it just goes to show you really just how much life is really in this stuff. Uh, yeah, there's a little bit of duckweed in there. I think I got like a strand or two, and obviously, like duckweed just starts to grow. I don't mind so much in here because it's going to start to pull out the nutrients out of this with all that waste, with all that leaf litter in there, and also that dorsage that I did plant in here is starting to run already, as you can see right here. So it is growing in there. So that's pretty cool, which I'm happy about. Um, but yeah, like I said, I actually had to go on ID Finder to try to figure out what some of this stuff was last night. There's like seed shrimp. I've seen copeds. I've seen those aquatic isopods. I've seen a scud in here. One of the first days I put it in. Sorry about the shakiness. But yeah, there's just things moving everywhere. It's very cool. When am I going to make some custom emojis for members? Um, I don't know. I could take a look at that. Sorry about the shakiness. Um, Speaking of members, I did want to make a shout out. Thank you, Jesse, because that is something I planned on doing today. I wanted to shout out my members, and Jesse, you are one of them. Jesse from Saline Aquatics, been a member for I think 5 months, almost 6 months. Thank you very much. I do appreciate your support greatly. You are a good friend, and I appreciate it. I also need to shout out it's my brother-in-law, Ron Strickland Jr., who is also a member. I think he's been a member for about 4 months, and then Nellie G. McLean. He's my third and final member of my channel. And like I said, I appreciate you guys immensely. And if you guys are interested in being a member of my channel, go hit that join button. And I've been putting out a members only video once a month so far. I do want to uptick that a little bit because I do want to treat you guys well who are going to be members of my channel. And like I said, I appreciate you guys a lot because that means a lot to me that you will do that. And I want to do a lot more. It's hard with 3 people only. So, but I'll do videos and I'll do photos here and there. And like I said, those emojis, I can definitely work on that, Jesse. That would be kind of cool too. So this tank is just, oh, there's an isopod that came out. That's cool. Now, when I first opened this thing up, put this thing in here, there were so many of them. I don't see as many anymore, but the thing is, this thing is so thick with leaf litter that goes all the way in the back. There's so much room for them to hide into. I don't think that they're gone. Well, I thank you very much, Jody, for becoming a member. I appreciate that. So there are just so much, like I said, this tank, honestly, every single time I come down here, this is the one that I look at the most and come look at first, because there is so much life in here. It's like I do plan on, like I said, if you don't know, my reason being for this thing is I do plan on, after a while, after making sure everything is in here settled, taking some of this leaf litter out and putting it within my aquariums instead of continuously going and collecting new jars from local waterways and potentially adding new things in that I don't want, or this I know what it is, because after I take leaves out, I can put new leaves, dry leaves in, and just keep culturing and keep this as my main culture. But this is almost like one of my favorite tanks down here right now, to be able to see everything that's in there. So I find that really cool. So with that, let's move over to my Oscar tank. You get the light back on, or my Faka puffer tank. All right. Let me get this set up. All right. Now, there's my bad boy. Now, this guy I absolutely love. He is my favorite fish. I can tell you that much right now. I have favorites, and this guy is so personable. He is always at the top of the water when I come down here to greet me. I know it's because he wants food. It's not so much because of me, but it is what it is. Now, this tank itself, if you've been following, hey Chris, nice to see you. If you've been following my channel, you know that this tank has been giving me massive grief over the last, it's been up for about a little over a year now. This tank has been giving me massive grief because of a few reasons. Algae and cyanobacteria are the main reasons. Oh. And I have been fighting it and fighting it and fighting it. But the one thing, that a lesson that I took from all of it, is really patience and just letting it be and letting it take its course. And that's the biggest thing that I got from it. Merry Christmas, by the way. And there are so many things you can do to try to fix algae, to try to fix like cyanobacteria and things like that. But in the end, the best way that you can fix any of that is just kind of sitting back, realizing what's going on in your tank. And if you need to make changes, make small ones compared to like big, massive changes at a time. So that's where I ran into big problems with this tank, because I was trying to kill the cyanobacteria. Then I was getting thick, like hair algae everywhere. And I was doing water changes left and right just to suck up all the cyano and the sand that was at the bottom and front here. And it wouldn't stop. So eventually I just kind of threw my hands up and I said, enough is enough. I'm just leaving it. It's just going to take its course. And once I did that, that's when things started to change. That's when all of a sudden the cyanobacteria disappeared. And then that's when the algae started to go away and everything else. Now, this tank, the same as the Oscar tank, I did some trimming in it and I replanted some Ludwigia throughout it. So I'm really liking the color in it. And then I also have, there are a few guppies in here, but I don't feed the guppies. The guppies feed off of any of the waste that maybe my fish here leaves, or algae, or anything that's in the substrate or on the plants. And I let them eat that. And the unfortunate part with them, they are, any fish you put in here with him, plays victim to possibly being eaten and being gone. So you don't want to put anything expensive or trusted or anything that you really want to keep in here because it won't go good. So that being said, he likes to eat. Okay. And I do have a special little treat. He knows it because he saw me bring it out before. Let me go over here more where he'll come. And I'm going to give him a little shrimp for you guys. He loves his shrimp. He ain't done yet. I'll give him another piece here. He'll come out of the water sometimes to get that stuff. I got some for the Oscar too. I forgot. I got to feed him. I'll show you that after we're done talking about this tank. So yeah, this tank's been doing pretty good now. Do you have mud on the bottom or is that all sand? No, there is dirt at the bottom. This is also a dirty tank. This one is, it's about the 2 inches of I can't speak, about a 1 inch layer of dirt, my dirt and compost mixture that I use. But then with this one, what I did, so because puffers are known to bury themselves and dig in the sand, I put thicker layer of sand on top. So there's about 4 or 5 inches of sand on top of that dirt. And that's what's going on with this one. So this is a dirty tank with just a thicker sand layer in order to stop him. Now, he never really dug much in the sand to begin with. He always kind of just halfway buried himself. But since he's been in this setup, he really hasn't buried himself too much. But so far, so good. But if you see pits in the sand, he likes to blow. I think all puffers do that. I didn't know if it was just mine, but now that I've seen some online, I think they all do it. See, what happens was he's looking for snails in the sand, and he'll go around because I don't feed him every day. Now that he's bigger like this, I'll feed him like probably once every 3 to 4 days, and he'll go around in the substrate and start blowing holes because he's looking for snails that would be in it. Does he scratch the glass with his teeth at all? You know, he does bite on the glass. I've never really seen any scratches. What he's done himself is, unfortunately, he's hurt himself a couple times. If you can see on his belly there, he's got a couple little scars. He's either hit, one of them came a long time ago when I had this set up upstairs. I don't know if he hit a piece of wood or the heater or something. And then the other one came probably a couple months ago. I think he nailed my heater in the back, unfortunately. But yeah. I have around 6 inches of mud and sand cap with a lot of plants. Yeah, good, cool. You have to give him something hard for him to eat for teeth health. That's from Chris from Stubbs. Yes. Now I feed him the shrimp. The shrimp is now that he's bigger. I feed him that. This is frozen raw shrimp that I get from the store, and then I thaw it out. That's his main food source now. I will get like clam and a half shell once in a while, but then it's snails within my aquariums. I'll give him pest. Well, people call them pest snails. I like them, but they're food. What happens is I'll give him snails a couple times a week, not a whole bunch, but just enough. But when he was younger, his biggest thing was I fed him snails every day because you always heard that with these puffers, their teeth grow and grow and grow. And if you don't feed them harder foods like that, they'll grow so long that they can't eat, and then they're either going to die or you're going to have to take them out, or not euthanize them, put them under like anesthesia and trim them yourself. And that's not something that I really ever wanted to do, but I really haven't noticed his teeth growing bad. So the amount of snails I give him must be enough. I really only give him snails probably like twice a week, and it's not a crap ton either. So because he pretty much cleaned out my snail population within my tanks when he was younger, and they're all starting to come back now. Good question though, Chris. Though. Let's see, Jeffro, have you introduced clams or mussels? I did try mussels once. He didn't really care. See, when he was younger, he didn't care for clam in the half shell, so I have introduced clams, and he didn't care for mussels. But it got to the point where I needed to feed them, and he wasn't eating them, so that's all I would give him, and then eventually he would start to eat them. So I haven't tried mussels in a while. He might eat those. I'm sure he would eat the clams. Now, if you see shells at the bottom, some of those are left from the clams in the half shell that I fed him. And some of them, well, they were just in the substrate in the sand from my local beach in Lake Michigan when they came along with it. So, let's see. But yeah, so this, like I said, this tank's been going pretty good. Pretty happy with it. It's been a struggle with it. Like, I'm not going to lie. This one has been one of those I've wanted to pull my hair out a few times, more than once, just waiting for it to kind of turn over. But that's the thing too, with that whole patience thing when it comes to these tanks. You just need to have, that patience. You need to be able to just sit back and let that balance occur its own way. You can't force things. They got to be able to do it themselves. So, all right. With that being said, let me turn the camera on Oscar quick, and I'll feed him quick for you before we hit the other tanks. Let me go. Where did I put it? Oh, it's over here. Now with this guy, which I forgot to mention, I feed him smaller pieces of food. I don't give big pieces anymore. Because if you notice with Oscars when they eat, if you give them big pieces of big things of food, when they eat and they chew, it all comes out the back gills. Now some still will, but when I give smaller pieces, less of that happens. That's why I'll feed like smaller pellets too. He attacks that freaking egg crate at the top. If I don't put it in there in time, he goes nuts with it. Yeah, dummy, it's behind you. There you go. And that's all she wrote with that. So that is that. Oh, let's see here. I got you on TV in the fish room. Nice, Jesse. I want to get a TV in here. I was telling the wife that the other day. She's like, then I'll never see you. You're always going to be down there. I said, it's not even about that. I said, it's the fact that, I can be able to have like YouTube videos and stuff on watching while I'm down here doing things. That's what I enjoy. I would like to have it down here. So that'd be great. All right. So that's right here. Thank you, Kimiko. All right. So let's move over to some other tanks over here. I guess let's start with this one since we're over here. This is that 55 gallon. This one, it's still in that process of balancing itself out. Now, this is the one tank of mine in this fish room that I use not for breeding, that is dirted, or not dirted, excuse me. Now, this one has been set up for quite a while now, and it is main purpose is to be housed for an axolotl for my daughter. Now, with this one, I had that big lily from my pond outside, and the lily pads started dying off, so I cut them down. There's still one up there. But there is all new growth on it, so it is doing decent so far. I have some Amazon swords and other stuff in here. Now, this is a tank you can see through both sides, but unfortunately with the cloudy water right now, you're not going to be able to see it. And part of it, I think it might be the wood in there too. I don't know if it's completely all the balancing act in here, but it is something to keep an eye on. But and I have just some random mixed guppies in here and shrimp that I had from my summer tub outside this summer, and I just threw in here and they've been breeding. So once I get that axolotl, they might get picked off, or I'm going to take some of the more colorful ones out of there. But yeah, I really like this tank. I like the whole atmosphere of it. The plants are really starting to come in now. The whole purpose of this one, by not being dirted, is I wanted to do a natural style tank, one that I don't plan on adding fertilizers or anything like that. I want to see really I want to treat it almost as if it's the same as one of my dirted tanks, the same maintenance level, the same everything. So like no fertilizers, minimal water changes. Same type of plants, a deep substrate, and I want to see really how it works out. I want to see how they really come as it as it goes through. So yeah, no root tabs, Jeffro. I don't want to. I do have a plan though. If the Amazon swords and that lily suffer because there is no soil, my idea was, now I got the idea actually from when I had Father Fish on my live stream a while back, is taking some soil with my compost compost mix, and I want to get that a little wet and put them in like little ice cube trays and freeze them so they're hard as a rock, so I can put them in the water and then I can stick them directly under those plants that might need it. That way it'll won't dissolve into the water column, but yet I can get a little bit of nutrient level for the roots underneath some of those plants, like like I said, the lilies and the Amazon swords. Those would be the only plants I'd really would need any type of stuff for that though, but we'll see. Like I said, that's down the road. The swords are growing yet in here. It's hard, like I said, it's hard to see with the cloudy water in here, but they are growing really well in here. I have all new shoots on them, so things are growing. I mean, even the lilies got shoots coming out of it yet too that are growing. So, are you going to plant it more or see how it goes as it does? Well, I'll add more plants as I get them from clippings from my tanks. I was going to put more Ludwigi in here. All the Ludwigia that I trimmed for my plants the other day is what I put in my Oscar and Puffer tank to kind of fill them out. But the Dorsage has been running like crazy in here, and the Pogostemen stellatus octopus has been growing pretty good too. And I trimmed a bunch of that back as well. Actually, one of the shoots of the Pogostemen here was all the way to the other side of the tank. It was so long I had to take it out. And I'm also trying to get rid of the duckweed in these tanks. So this one I haven't touched too. I took some of it out of there, I can't lie. So there isn't much left. But this as well, if you've seen my video on Friday, I was talking about duckweed and aphids. Well, these are aphids that are on my lily pad here. And try to zoom in if you could see them. They're little annoying bugs. They really don't hurt you, but what they will do is they suck the sap out of like your plants that are out of the water or on the surface. So I just, they just are annoying because they'll go from tank to tank to tank. But what I do is I'll go like this and get them on the surface of the water, and then the fish will, the fish will eat all little things, and the ones that don't get eaten wind up climbing right back up on that lily pad. That's why if I take as much off of the surface of the water floating, there's nothing they can do about it. But so that's this tank. Yep, skip jumpers. Okay. All right. Let's move over to my rainbow shiner tank. Let me get this stand up a little higher so you guys can see. Sorry about the shakiness. Give me a moment. I tried to figure out when I wanted to do this tour how I could do it to be able to be a little less hands-free, more hands-free, and show stuff. But that would in turn make me having to adjust this tripod a little bit. So just got to bear with me. All right, so rainbow shiner tank. Now this one has changed a little bit this summer, and from the unfortunate part is some of it's because of the fish itself. If you give me a moment while I try to turn this light off so we don't get this glare from this tank we just looked at. All right, get off. Well, anyway, so what happened was this tank went through some changes because I was trying to breed these guys, and I took them out of the tank, not all of them, but I took 2 females, 2 males, and I tried to breed them in some 10-gallon tanks, which I'll show you in a little while. And the unfortunate part is I put them in a basket, and I had a power head on it, and the flow was too much from what I believe and what people were telling me online. And I think that's what killed them. So I have only 4 left, and Branton, who is in the chat, thank you very much, actually offered up his rainbow shiners for me, which I appreciate greatly. I just was not able to make it that day, unfortunately, to be able to come get them. So I hope that someday we'd be able to hook up and be able to maybe not get the shiners, but at least meet. That's what I was looking forward to too, is to be able to meet in Branton there. Let's see, anyone else in the chat here? Hey, Mike, nice to see you. All right. So now this tank as well, what I had was lots of floating plants in here. I had a huge, huge mess of pearlweed at the top, and it snuffed out the light so bad that my Anubias started yellowing and my dwarf sage back here started to die off. So I pulled that out. I trimmed the tops of the dwarf sage to give more light in here. Then I added a few Ludwigia to fill in the holes, which is basically common for me with my tanks. When the stem plants grow so tall, they get thinner at the bottom and then all the leaves are at the top. So then I have to trim them and put them back down. So, and then what I also did was, if you can see, I just seen someone mention the leaf in there. This is just dry leaves from outside. This isn't from a resurrection jar or anything like that. It is just leaves up from outside that I soaked in a jar in order to get the tannins out of them and put them in there. So it's just another way around doing the food web without using culture from an actual waterway is my plan to try this out. So we'll see how it goes. But the big reason why I wanted this in here, well, is one, the snails, and the shrimp. They love the leaf litter. Branton, you deleted a message. I didn't see what it was, but I'm assuming I trust you, buddy. The shrimp population, when I had leaf litter in here, exploded with these shrimp in this tank. And then I got planaria in this tank from my resurrection jars, and it just destroyed my population of shrimp. So my idea was that putting leaf litter in here itself is going to be able to help that shrimp population grow again. And that's what I want. And it's also, but it plays twofold. It can also play that same respect that the food web does. Now, it doesn't, it's going to get broken down by the shrimp, the snails, and there are microorganisms within these tanks, whether they're cultured from a local waterway or not. And they're going to break all this stuff down in order to go down through the substrate and feed your plants. And it's one big cycle of a system, feeding the plants, feeding the fish, feeding the soil, feeding the shrimp, feeding the microorganisms, the macroorganisms, everything that's in there are all fed together. And this is my plan to do it without using cultures from a local waterway, besides the one that I have in that tank. So like I said, I want to play around with it a little bit and see how it does. And I know there won't be the same biodiversity with just taking leaves from your backyard compared to taking a handful from a local waterway, but it's really something I want to explore. So, all right. All right. Oh, I see what you deleted there, Brandon. Good job. All right, let's move on to this tank. This is with my blue coral, blue coral varieties. I had these fish for probably almost 2 years now. They had bred really good, but then they just stopped breeding for the most part. But there is a baby in here that I found. These things are great too. They're really colorful. Now, I might be moving on from these guys. I'm not 100% sure yet. So I'm thinking this might be the tank where I want to put those Medaka rice fish that are growing out in. But I'm not 100% sure yet. I have a swap meet in February I plan on attending in Neenah, Wisconsin for the Fox Valley Fish Fair, and we'll see if I want to move on from them. I'm going to sell them, but I'm not 100% sure, or I'm going to move them down to the tank below, but we shall see. But this tank itself, I also added some leaves in here as well, because I do have a bunch of cherry shrimp in here, and I wanted them to really start to flourish more too. This thing was so thick with Dwarf Sagittaria. I actually have a video out on trimming this tank. I think that'll come out on New Year's Eve. And I opened it up again, got all the light in there, and I really love it. So tank mates, if you're talking to me, Jeffro, about this tank, I try to keep all species only tanks. I like to try to breed the fish that I have. If it is a situation like that, we'll see. But like I said, well, I'll show you when I get down to the tank below where I plan on possibly putting them, but I'm not 100% sure. But this tank is been set up for probably close to 2 years. I would say almost a year and at least a year and a half. But it's been growing really good and doing pretty well as well. And I like it a lot. Hey, Maul, nice to see you here. You can never be late to the party. I appreciate you, buddy. All right, so let's move down to the next tank here. I have to adjust the tripod again, so bear with me. So in this tank, what you're going to see in a second, after you guys hopefully don't get motion sickness from getting all twisted around for me moving everything here. Again, it's all part of the process. I don't have a production crew. Is my swordtail tank here. Now, this is your koi swordtail. I used to have Matano rice fish in here, but I moved them and I put these guys in here. But what happened was I thought, because I had planaria, this was the first tank I found planaria in, and I had those Matano rice fish in here, and I had a suspicion they might have been eating the eggs. So what I did was I took them out and I put the swordtails in here because obviously they are live bears, and it would be easier to be able to manage planaria if they were just in here. But I wound up finding planaria in a lot more other tanks, so it really just didn't last with that. So my idea with those platies up above is to potentially put them in here. Now these guys can breed together, which in turn will make it where I will not be able to sell them if I wanted to. If I did, I'd have to list them as pretty much a mutt, but I'd like to see what would come out between the two of them with that high fin and that red color from those platies, and then the koi color here with the swordtails. I think it'd be kind of interesting, but I'm not really 100% sure on it yet. It's all just going to have to see how it goes. But let's see. I like the colored air tubing. I'm not sure where I had that. It was hanging somewhere. I'm not 100% sure. If this tank, if you're not sure, you like my sealing job? This is the first tank I ever sealed. I set it up years ago, and it's a funny story. It started leaking from the bottom, and I was like, oh, crap. So I had to empty the whole thing out. I went and bought some silicone, had it all ready, and I wound up, I got white silicone and not clear. And, I said, screw it. I am not freaking going back to the store and changing it. And I just goobed the crap on it everywhere. So it's thicker and thick, and you are correct. It is not leaking. So it's holding water. So that's all that matters. But I thought it was a funny story. Gabriel from GNC Aquatics will make fun of me sometimes when he sees it. And I love that. It's because it was when I initially did it, I thought, well, this will just be like a quarantine tank. Well, that never happens for me, because if I have a tank like this, it's going to wind up being set up with dirt and sand. Now I don't have quarantine tanks. But yeah, this is one of my only tanks that doesn't have shrimp in either. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. That this tank and the one above are still kind of a mystery of what I'm going to do. I may potentially just get rid of all of them and try some different fish too. I'm not 100% sure. I've really been trying to get closer to more cold water species of fish in order to just kind of get away from heaters. But I live in Wisconsin, and for the most part, I can get away with it. My fish room here is in my basement, and I do have a furnace which is right next to my fish room here. So the water temperatures get down to probably about 65 or so, but so the cold water species would be fine, but I need them in like the Oscar tank and that. So let's move over to my White Cloud tank. But before we start talking about the White Cloud tanks, I'm going to plug one more time next week, Sunday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, special edition of Beyond the Dirt. I will have Corey McElroy of Aquarium Co-op on as my guest. So make sure you guys stop by. I'm really looking forward to that stream. It should be a lot of fun. I have a bunch of cool questions planned to ask him. I want to ask him about dirty tanks and his ideas and his opinion on some of the stuff and some of the things that I see within them. And I'm really kind of curious on it. So make sure you guys come back next week too as well for that. But onto this tank. Now this stream, obviously, as you can see, is about 50 minutes in. It's going to go longer than an hour because I want to show every tank. This is my White Cloud minnow tank. Now it's a little cloudy. I've been battling with lots of mulm in here. And yeah, I haven't figured that one out, but it is what it is. The fish like it. And I've been trying to breed these guys. I haven't uploaded it yet and set up the thing Branton yet for that stream yet. I'll do that probably later on today. I've been trying to breed these guys, but they don't community breed. They are really, they are really just ravenous when it comes to eating their eggs and eating little fry. I have bred some of them, but I have to take them out of the tank and try to breed them, which I'll show you in a little bit as well. And I had a little idea of what I'm doing with one of them, but we'll find out. But this tank has been doing decent as well. It's got probably about 15 or so little white clouds in there of different age levels. I do have a power head in there currently, as you can see, and I don't have it on right now. What I'm doing is experimenting with flow with these guys. Now I know in the wild they are originally from rivers, but there's a little speculation whether they really live in the high flow. I've heard more too that they like to go in the back areas where there isn't much flow. So I'm contemplating putting maybe a timer on it and letting it go like a little bit here or there just to kind of give a little bit of a flow in there for them to see if that helps a little bit. But either way, they seem to be adapting and very, very decent. So before we move on to the next tank, let me turn on some lights here. Then we can move on to my first ever dirty tank that I ever set up, which is this one right here. Not the bottom one, the top one. The bottom one is a breeding setup for white clouds. This is my first ever dirty tank. This is a 20 long. I set that up probably close to 5 years ago, and it has been doing really well. Just give me a second here. I'm trying to finagle some stuff. And I'm dumb. Wrong lights. Anyway, so this has my rare Matano rice fish from LRB in it, and they're hiders. They used to come out really nice. I had them basically trained to come out to eat and feed and all that good stuff. But then I moved them into this tank and they started freaking out. They got really cool blue eyes when you see them from the top. It's really cool. But I need a bigger fish room. Yes, I do, Mike. I know. It's kind of hard. So anyway, they have really cool blue eyes and you see them from the top. There's one right there. I don't know if I can zoom in. But they're really skittish, like I said. But this tank itself, like I said, it's got lots of dorsage and it's got a nice, real big crypt in the middle that's really been spreading out. And I really like it. And there is some algae in here. I've mentioned that in numerous videos. The algae has, it's along that light bar if you go across the tank. There's probably just a little bit more light in there than it needs, but I like the extra light because this dwarf sage grows so tall. It drapes over the top and it winds up blocking out light for the plants, and that's usually what happens with the dwarf sage. It winds up getting dying leaves on it because of that, and then new growth comes when the light comes back. But Anyway, so that's that tank if anyone's got no questions. And then we'll move on to, this is my newest dirty tank that is cloudier than cloudy. It's still battling. Let me zoom out a little bit. Now this one as well has been a little bit of a struggle. I think it might be that piece of wood. It's a very good possibility. What that wood is, it's a root from an olive tree, and I have a sneaking suspicion it may not be fully dead in the middle. It felt like it, but when I leave it for a while, you will see almost like a cloud starting coming out from that log area. So I have a feeling that's kind of what's doing it, but I'm not 100% sure because I do run into occasions with cloudy water in my dirted tanks when I set them up first, because this one's been up for probably like 3 months or so. And this has King Yama red orange Medaka rice fish in them that I also got from LRB Aquatics. But yeah, and there's a bunch of snails in there because I just had the light off. And the shrimp population has exploded in here as well. That's the one thing you find when you have these tanks that are cloudy and you don't really see much that's going on in them. When they do start to clear up, you see really the life that really was living in that low light. And those shrimp absolutely love it. I have some red Rilly shrimp in there that I have in my white cloud tank. They got in there somehow, but there were just like babies upon babies everywhere in that tank. It was crazy. So, all right. Let's move over here. This is a 20-gallon tank that I have my, what are they? Taiwanese, I hope I don't butcher the name, Taiwanese red-orange double sword guppy. Now, those are funny stories. I got these things at a local fish store as a Japanese double green endler. And then when I posted on Facebook, when I started breeding them, someone contacted me and asked if I got them at that store. And she said that she's the one that actually imported them in, ordered them in, and bred them and sold them to the fish store, and told them what they were, that they actually were bred by a master breeder over in Taiwan. And I think she bought like a trio for probably like $35 or something, that they aren't cheap fish, but he was selling them. He wasn't selling them cheap. He always, at this fish store, upcharges a little bit because he's got to make up his cost. But so I was kind of pleasantly surprised in that. So they breed pretty cool, and the males have those, they just have phenomenal tails. I have some younger ones in here. There is a older male in here somewhere that's just got a really cool tail. And I also did add some leaves in here as well, like some of those other ones I have that were not collected from resurrection jars. I have 3 tanks with this leaf litter in here to kind of experiment around a little bit, and they all have shrimp in it as well. And I highly recommend, if you do have shrimp, throw some leaves in there. They love them. It's a constant food source, and I guarantee you your population will explode. Now, if you have snails in them, snails will explode as well, unfortunately. Oh, I think rasboras will lay eggs on the bottom side of leaves. Mine do. So do my rasbora huts. Oh, that's actually kind of interesting. I never thought about that. I used to have a rasbora. I used to have a community tank in the 75-gallon tank. I know something was breeding in them because I would find little fish once in a while, but then I also had like Congo tetras and rainbows in there, and nothing really survived. Chemical, I understand planaria is only a problem with shrimp. Do I understand that correct? Because I have them in my tank and they are cone-shaped worm. Now, the thing with planaria is, you see, I did a video on them. Like in the wild, they're a scavenger, but in our tanks, they need a food source. Yes, they can eat and kill your shrimp. 110%. I don't care what anyone tells you. I've seen my blue dream shrimp population be decimated from them. I've seen plenty of videos of people showing Alex from Fishery. He had a video once where showed a buried shrimp on the surface, and the planaria were eating the eggs out of her. What they do is they move around with a slime trail, and that slime trail has a toxin in it, the same as a puffer does. what it does is it paralyzes the thing that goes on it if it's on there long enough, and that's when they wind up eating it. And they can eat fish eggs as well. I've heard of them eating small fry. It probably would really depend if they came in contact of that toxin for them to get a hold of them, or if they were maybe just laying at the bottom. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I know they will eat fish eggs. So that's why I was kind of concerned with my Matano rice fish, being that they always never have seen any babies in that tank. So that's an entire possibility. But yeah, shrimp is the main concern, but they can eat eggs as well for your fish. So that's also something to keep an eye on. And then this will be the last tank. This is it's like a 25 gallon tall or some stuff like that. I don't even know. So this has all my guppies from outside in my summer tubbing. I threw them all in here for right now. And this also has that leaf litter. Now I don't plan on keeping them all in here, but I just want to point out, if you ever hear that, if you keep a dirted tank with no filter, that you can't overstock your tanks. It's not possible. I just want to show you that this is possible. Now, I probably have, I don't know, a good 200 guppies in here, I would say. But, long term, is it good? I mean, probably not. I mean, there's lots of plants in there. And again, I don't ever find any type of overload of nutrients as far as like nitrates or ammonia or anything like that. But I plan on selling a lot of these off at the swap meet that I'm going to in February. I just needed somewhere to house them. So that's why they're in here for right now. Again, I'm kind of thinking about getting away from guppies. Now, I like guppies, but I really want to try something different. But these are really cool for outside in the summer, and they're really hardy and almost bulletproof. And when you start mixing all these colors around, it's really kind of cool. So yeah. All right. Let me flip this around. And we are back. All right. So let me set this up quick while you stare at my ceiling. So what'd you guys think? Wanted to do something a little different today. I didn't have a guest scheduled, which I was okay with. I just wanted to try to walk through and show you guys some of the stuff in my fish room and play around a little bit and do something a little different besides having a guest every single week, which I don't mind having guests because it's fun being able to talk to people live and get to know them better and stuff like that. But I just thought it'd be kind of cool to go around and see if you guys had any questions about stuff. Let's see. You guys use for Hydra that's shrimp safe. Is no planaria, is that, I think that might kill Hydra as well. I think I might have read, I'm not 100% sure. Then that is shrimp safe. But don't quote me on that. I would do some research if anyone else has any information out there. Can't wait to watch the progress of your planted Oscar tank over the next year. Yeah, me too. Like I mentioned before, it's one of those things where I really got to wait and see how it goes. There's no for sure, it's you just don't know the temperament of the fish until they really reach that maturity, and we're really going to find out. Jeffro, someone said to use puppy wormer, but I wasn't sure. That's Panicure C. I use that in my tanks to kill planaria. Hindsight 2020, I probably would have tried the no planaria first because it is more natural. But it did work. It killed my planaria, so I would assume it would kill Hydra as well. But again, I would do some research on that one. And it didn't kill any snails for me either. I'd seen Ron over at Garage Aquatics use the no planaria to kill snails within his aquarium. And I was really surprised that they actually killed the snails because they didn't kill any, the Panicure C didn't kill any snails in my aquarium. I know it's different, it's a different product. It's not the same, but yeah. Do those planaria traps actually work? I've never tried them, the ones you see online, but what I did do was I took a barbecue skewer, one of those little bamboo ones, and I put a piece of shrimp on it. and I stuck it in the substrate, and I let it so that all the planaria gathered on that piece of shrimp. Then I just took a siphon and I just siphoned them out all out of there. And I did that a few times. So I did get a big quantity out of there, but there's other ways around buying one of those traps probably would work. I've seen them work. They got the little holes you go in, you put some bloodworms or something like that. But I think you could save yourself some money and just make your own type of trap probably to do it as well, to be honest with you. Like Mike just said, just make a snail trap. It's pretty much the same thing. You just want them to get in there so you can take them out of the aquarium. Jody P, the glass planaria traps work okay. I have one in my mystery snail breeding tank because I can't use meds in there. Yeah. There's ways around it. Obviously, the meds are going to eliminate the planaria, but traps are going to more or less just kind of control them. I don't think you can ever completely eliminate them with traps, but you definitely can control them, like I said. But if you want to eliminate them, the only way to probably do that is with meds, unfortunately, or get some type of fish that are going to eat them. None of my fish eat them, unfortunately. I read bettas eat them, but other than that, I'm not sure. But anyway, so I don't know if anyone else don't got no questions about any of the tanks or anything you want to see. I think we might start wrapping this up. So again, just want to make sure you guys remember, I know I've been saying it, and you're going to see it all over my YouTube this week because I'm going to advertise the crap out of it. Corey McElroy from Aquarium Co-op will be here next Sunday at 1 p.m. Central Time. So it'll be a later date for this Beyond the Dirt. And yeah, do I ship fish? No, I do not. If you live in Wisconsin area, I'll gladly meet up with you somewhere. Or like I said, in February, I'm in I plan on being in Neenah for the Fox Valley Fish Fair, and I plan on getting a table. I'll be there. But yeah, you're not in the Wisconsin area. No, I don't ship, unfortunately. So anyway, so make sure you guys stick around or come back next week for Corey from Aquarium Co-op. I think it'll be a really cool show. So that'll probably be a 2-hour one. I already asked him if we can go longer than an hour, and he said that'd be fine. And yeah, like I said, I got a bunch of cool questions I want to ask him. So make sure you guys come back and you have some questions ready and throw them down in the chat. I want to try to be interactive with you guys too with him. Like I said, I am going to have my own list of questions I do plan on asking him, but yeah. Mike, I've talked to Corey as well about joining us on the stream. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I think he's starting to go around to some of the smaller channels, and I really like that. And I think that's very cool. So it's very interesting, and I love it. Jody P, I used to live in Wisconsin, up in Green Bay, in Oconto, back in Iowa now. Okay. Yeah, I live in Sheboygan, which is like between Milwaukee and Green Bay. Green Bay is one of my favorite towns in Sheboygan, in Wisconsin. Not just because the Green Bay Packers play there, but it's one of my favorite fish stores is there as well. So, but yeah, so yeah, guys, come back next week and we'll talk to Corey and we'll ask him some cool questions. We'll learn more about him, get to know him a little better as a hobbyist, not only as that Aquarium Co-op guy, the owner of it, but as the hobbyist that he is. Maybe get some insight onto, for me, my selfish things. I want to know more about his opinion on some of these dirty tanks and some of the things that I see here. And I want to know what his opinions on them because I do respect his opinion. What temp do you run your tank since you don't have heaters? I do have heaters in a couple of them. I have heaters in the Oscar tank and the puffer tank. I run them at about 75, 77 degrees. I have one in my Rainbow Shiner tank, but I have it set at 68. It's just more of a fail safe in case it ever gets too cold. They were just in there before I put the Rainbow Shiners in. And I have them in my Swordtail and Platy tank, which I really don't need them in. They're both set at like 75. In my Matano rice fish, I have one in, which they're a tropical breed rice fish. And that one's one of those preset ones. So I think it's like 75 or something like that. But those are the only ones I have them in right now. I'll have to keep them in the Oscar and puffer tank, but I prefer to eliminate as many of them as I can because I think we all know that heaters just are one of those things in this hobby that kind of not bulletproof and can really screw you over someday. So anyway, all right, I'm going to get out of here now. Everyone have a great Sunday. Everyone have a great Christmas. I do have a special video coming out on Christmas Eve. and check that out. Then I'll have videos out come twice a week for the next couple weeks here. So yeah, everyone have a great Sunday and see you guys all later. Thanks for stopping by and joining me.